G'day guys, how you doing? It's Sparrow back again, bringing you another video for my ladder climb series. This time around I have a new team. I'm running a team that I've used since ORAS. Obviously in ORAS, Scizor wasn't allowed in the tier, but the basic premise of the team is still the same. Scizor used to be a Lucario in this case, and it functioned as a breaker and steel type for the team. This time around, the team utilizes Scizor more as a pivot, and I feel like I get a lot more mileage out of it. The team is very good. I enjoy using it, and I'm very confident when I use this team, so I thought I'd drop this team now, just so you guys can have something new to look at and new to use on the ladder. We'll quickly go through the team now. So on this team I utilize Growth Abomasnow. Growth Abomasnow is very cool. It lets me switch into bulky waters pretty much indefinitely. I can set up a growth, get to +1, even +2, and after that, Abomasnow really has no switch-ins. I run Soundproof, that was back in the day versus all the Sylveons. Funnily enough, it also blocks like moves like Bug Buzz from Mega, Air Slash, no, sorry, not Air Slash, Boom Burst from Swellow and Explode. So it does get a bit of mileage out of using Soundproof. It gives it a good setup opportunity, and I just really think it does have its uses. Next up, we have Choice Scarf Hydreigon. Choice Scarf Hydreigon lets his team face off versus offensive builds, and it really does work as a late game sweeper for this team. Choice Scarf Hydreigon has some very useful resistances, and that's why I like to utilize it with this team. Next up, we have Tentacruel. Tentacruel is utilizing Zed Haze. Zed Haze gives it free healing. I run Clear Body because I don't like losing my speed versus sticky web teams, meaning I can get a guaranteed rapid spin off most of the time. Toxic Spikes lets me challenge bulky builds, and I run Scold because why not? Scold's its best stab. You got the burn chance, and that's about it basically for Tentacruel. Next up we have Blissey. I run Choppleberry Blissey with counter. It's a fantastic fighting type lure. Most people who know this team know that it is counter Blissey, but it does catch people off guard, especially on ladder. It also sort of really hurts bulky Scizor teams that like to U-turn on Blissey turn 1 and Scout. It also really hurts Beedrill teams as well because U-turn into counter, if they don't have a ghost type, is taking out a Pokemon on the opponent's team. Blissey is my stealth rocker. It's my special sponge. I can switch it around and switch it in quite often. It really helps. Blissey offense is very underrated, but it's very cheesy at the same time. So I don't mind running it. It's reliable for me. Next up we have Scizor. Most notably I've got Ockerberry running here. Ockerberry lets me not get trapped by Magneton. I can beat Superior with it. I survive a +2 HP fire, get off the crucial U-turn damage. I also survive HP fire from Latias. In this case I run a decent amount of bulk. Roost is obvious, and Swords Dance turns it into a late game sweeper with Bullet Punch. Most of the time I'm just using Scizor as a pivot with Roost, and it's just in general a really good Pokemon. Last up we have Chandelure. On this team I prefer to run Flash Fire because it switches into fire type moves aimed at Scizor and Abomasnow. Substitute Will-O-Wisp plus Hex and Pain Split really makes this Chandelure quite unique. It's really good versus stall builds if they can't get a Toxic off on it. Plus, if I have Toxic Spikes up and I manage to remove the Tentacruel, stall builds really struggle versus this Chandelure. Their only switch in is Blissey, and if I get 2 layers of Toxic Spikes up, pretty much it's game over for the opponent's team if they're running stall. This Chandelure is very good at getting Substitute up early in the match and just getting burns, and Hex is double base power after you get a status element, which really works well with Toxic Spikes as well as Skull Burns and its own Will-O-Wisp here. Pain Split just gives it further longevity, and I feel as though this team is able to cover normal type Pokemon that might switch into Chandelure. The biggest weakness that I can see for this team at the moment is a Cursed Snorlax. Hopefully we don't face any, but I do have my ways around it. Alright, without going on any further, let's get a game. before we wait for too long, I just want to show you my record. Currently, we are 15-0. Pretty decent start. We're versing a interesting looking team. My opponent's bought Arcanine, which looks pretty cool as a scissor switch in, as well as a switch into, I suppose, Breloom, and a backup check with Will-O-Wisp to Azumarill. It's fairly underrated, but at the same time, I feel it's outclassed. Arcanine, depending on the set, if it is the bulky Will-O-Wisp set, it is walled by Chandelure. Chandelure is also able to get a substitute up against Breloom, and it really does scare off Komodo, depending on the set, Togekiss, and Scizor. Knowing this, I feel like it's a pretty good lead. We'll see what my opponent decides to do. If they decide to start with lead with Komodo, I will be a little bit worried. Um, I am contemplating leading with Hydreigon just for the purpose of covering that Komodo lead. Let's see what they decide to do. He decides to lead with his Breloom. He's probably sporing or rock tombing. I doubt he's staying in. If he stays in, it pretty much essentially confirmed that he was Sash. So we can safely assume at this stage that he is not Sash. We can safely assume that he is not. Oh, my opponent gets the +1 in all stats straight away. This is very frightening. I'm a little upset by this because I missed the Will-O-Wisp at the same time. That's okay. They're going for a sweep. If I lose this game, I hope you guys understand the reason why I've lost this game. Ancient Powered Togekiss is way more cheap than Counter Blissey. Very disappointing to come up against this so early. That's okay. Scissor wasn't doing much here. Bullet Punch is going to do a decent amount versus Togekiss. Obviously not going to take it at +1 defenses. I'm very sad. That's okay. Haze will take away its boosts if he manages to not flinch me down. I'm going to set Toxic Spikes up. Nothing like switching in. He's proved he's not defog on this. He's probably likely defog on Scizor. He has to go for another Ancient Power boost, which hopefully he doesn't get. That's very cheap of my opponent to run this strategy. He shows that he's very likely to be defog Scizor, but that gives me a chance to get off a burn. It's a bit sad that we've lost Scizor so early in the game. He shows that his Scizor is faster than Tentacruel, so it's very clear that this is a Toxic Box, a Choice Scarf set. Just got a little tongue-tied there. Alrighty, so given that very embarrassing start, I'm just looking at what my opponent has here. He could go for the Spore. I have Abomasnow to switch into that. I doubt he's going to go for the Muck Punch. If he does, great play. He probably might Swords Dance. I have Blissey for the middle ground play here. Now I'm going to go straight to Chandelure. If he double Rock Tombs, I'm going to be quite impressed. At the same time, I can go for the Soft Boiled. I have Natural Cure to switch out a Spore, and I also have Choppleberry. So this is no drawback play, and I lure in the Komodo for that purpose. He's probably Dragon Dance. My opponent's got a fairly well-built team. He showed that he's Lumberry. That's fine. Tentacruel does not take the hit, but I know that my Abomasnow can take the hit. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. Abomasnow is really, really bulky. The downside to losing Tentacruel is I lose Zed Haze, and Zed Haze was perfect against his Suicune, but I still have Abomasnow as a backup versus that. I really need to hold on to my Abomasnow for his Suicune. Toxic Spikes is going to hurt my opponent. He's likely goes straight into Suicune. That's perfect. He shows his Air Slash and he gets the flinch. That is really disappointing. I'm really disappointed to see that. It also kind of shows that he's not like a rest variant here. So I'm kind of okay with this. I'm going to go for the Seismic Toss. He's showed that he's Choice Scarf Scizor. He's also shown that he's some form of strange Breloom. It makes me think possibly Arcanine is like a banded set or something. I'm going to go to my Abomasnow in case he is rest. He's shown his rest. If he's Sleep Talk, he's not Sleep Talk because he's rest, Carmine, Scald, and Air Slash. He's likely going to Scizor here. I'm going to take any amount of healing I can for obvious reasons. His best play is to go to Scizor here. He goes to Arcanine. Arcanine's poison. Giga Drain gets off a decent amount. Hydreigon is a good switch in. If he goes for Crunch, I'll be that's the best. His best player is going for Crunch. I really don't know what to expect right now. Close combat is fairly obvious, and given my opponent's competency with this matchup and his team, I feel like Hydreigon could be the best play, but I don't want to risk my Hydreigon. I also know that Chandelure is probably my best bet versus his Scizor, his Togekiss, and his Breloom. So I don't want to lose my Chandelure. I feel like Blissey's my sack, but it's also a really good pivot, and I need to save my Abomasnow just for his Suicune here. So I feel like switching to Blissey is the play just to scout what's going on. He goes for the extreme speed. He's shown that he is likely the bulky Arcanine set, which gives me a bit of breathing room. Good pressure by my opponent early game, throwing me off guard. But at the same time, now it's my turn to get in the driver's seat and show my opponent what's what. I get off my Will-O-Wisp here. If my opponent gets the boost from Ancient Power again, I'm going to be very sad. Luckily, he does not get the boost. I'm going for my Will-O-Wisp again. I really want to hit this. He doesn't get the boost. He goes for Toxic. Don't agree with that play. It's just a weird play, especially if I had it substituted there. He probably is going for Roost here. That's a perfect opportunity for Roost for a softboard with my Blissey. He's just going to spam Ancient Power now. This is really a really cheap strategy employed by my opponent. I'm kind of disappointed that I'm having to face this off just for my video because it's really uncompetitive and it's really taking a lot from the game. It just brings it down to luck factor here, and he gets the crit and the flinch. Very disappointing. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna have to go for the pain split with my Chandelure. I know I need Chandelure for his Breloom. I know I survived the Ancient Power. He doesn't get the boost. I'm going for Hex. I don't want to go for Hex. I'm in a really tough spot. This is really shit, guys. Okay, my only best bet now is to Dark Pulse spam late game and hope that I can break through his Suicune. He makes the good play. He's likely going for U-turn. I don't have any other play here. Um, Arcanine can beat Abomasnow 1v1. This is really disappointing, guys. I'm sorry that this match is very, very lackluster. At the same time, you can't expect anything more on the ladder. My opponent probably wins a very high amount of the time. He relies on RNG. That was really disappointing. That's my first win of the series, my first loss of the series, guys. Super disappointed by that one, but that's alright. Okay, Great Bastard's Ghost. I wonder if it is Great Bastard. Let's see how we go. We got a few people joining, so looks very interesting. He has the Beedrill plus Feraligatr core. That was fairly famous back in the day for each of them taking down each other's checks. At the same time, Scizor didn't exist then. Scizor, if it had been offensive, Scizor in this game would have just put in a lot of work versus my team, especially if Feraligatr went down. Um, Also looking at this matchup, Blissey Walls Kyurem. Kyurem is probably Sub Roost Ice Beam Earth Power. I can set up Stealth Rock. I can Seismic Toss the Empoleon down. Togekiss looks like he's Stall Breaker, and this team does struggle against Ancient Power Togekiss apparently, which is annoying. I think I'm going to leave with my Blissey just to see what my opponent decides to do. Going to go for the counter. I doubt he's going to expect this. Beedrill will do 50% with U-turn. Less than 50% in this case, and I'm going to take out something on my opponent's team, which is fantastic. That's the benefit of running U-turn on Blissey, on counter on Blissey. I wonder if my opponent will expect this. Still very disappointed that I had to face Ancient Power Togekiss, because outside of the fact that it was able to beat this team, I don't really see it having any real application elsewhere. The +1 in both defenses actually helps it out versus offensive teams, but at the same time, I just think it's such a cheap set, and it's not going to work the majority of the time. It has a 1 in 5 chance of getting the boosts, and I don't think that's high enough. My opponent's probably going to go for a knockoff here. Um, I don't really have another play. If he goes for Poison Jab, I have to go Scissor. Scissors Ockerberry, so it wasn't getting leftover recovery. I feel like that's just the best play all around. My opponent goes for the U-turn, which is the clever play. I was first forced to soft-boiled otherwise, and he's probably just going for his hip out on. Um, Hippowdon is a free U-turn into Abomasnow, funnily enough. His Abomasnow switch in is Empoleon. I'm going to go for the Blizzard. It's got a freeze chance. It just means nothing else can switch in, and I can bring in my Blissey yet again. If my opponent's good, he'll double to his Beedrill on the Blissey switch. So that's my logic. I hope that makes sense. Goes for Stealth Rock. I'm actually going to make him shit his pants and go for growth here. He will be terrified. I don't know. Blizzard seems like a good play. It just really chunks everything that comes in. At the same time, growth just seems really cool to scare out Empoleon. I'm just going to go for Blizzard. Empoleon was his switch. It's probably toxic. He's probably going to double back to his Beedrill. I think I need to make this play with the Blizzard just to show and assert my dominance. He knows that Tentacruel and Blissey are my play, and he's probably likely going to Beedrill again. So this is a dominance play. Let's see what my opponent decides to do. He's likely going for Toxic or Knockoff or Scold. And there you go. Dominance asserted, boys. I had to make that play early game just to give my opponent a bit of a scare, and I felt like it was the best play to make in that situation. So my opponent goes straight back to Empoleon. He's probably going to make another double, but I don't want to make the risk of getting my Empoleon toxic, my Abomasnow toxic. So that was exactly what he went for, toxic. Hale has shown that his Empoleon is not holding a leftovers, which is very interesting. He's likely Sugarberry. So I'll go for Rapid Spin. Rapid Spin was the play. I need to go to Scissor again. I get a free Roost Up versus Hippowdon. If he goes for Knock, that's a good play. Goes for Pursuit, really good play again. At the same time, if I go for Swords Dance, what has he got for Scissor? So I'm going for Swords Dance. He's going to be afraid of Bullet Punch. He also doesn't know that I'm full defensive here. So this will really make him afraid. So I'm feeling a bit better about this situation here compared to the last match. My opponent isn't relying on RNG, and RNG is something that's out of everyone's control. And my opponent realistically got really lucky last match. He also runs some very non-standard sets, such as Air Slash on his Suicune, which he managed to get the crit with, which is a bit annoying. Not the crit, the flinch with. And so literally my opponent was relying on just flinching me down and getting the advantage that way. And I don't agree with playing that way because a lot of the time you're not actually going to get the advantage. Opponent goes for Whirlwind. Good play. He's probably going to go for Slack Off here. I'm just going to bring back straight back in my my Abomasnow. I get another crit. I'm really sorry for that, man. Going to go for Giga Drain. Actually, Blizzard is the play. I don't want his Beedrill coming in for free. Although I've got Scissor as a switch in, it makes sense. He's also shown that he's got Sugarberry on Empoleon or Choppleberry. I'm going to go to Blissey. He's probably Toxing, but it's free self-boiled. Goes for Scold, fishing for a burn. Go the soft-boiled off again, and I'll get my Stealth Rock up. So I'm in an advantageous position. At the same time, I have to be careful around this matchup because I still can't break through just yet. So this game is about taking your time, making plays when you need to, when it's safe to. Abomasnow does force a lot of switches, so you can afford to be ballsy with the plays you make. So I'm going to go for Seismic Toss. Getting chip on Empoleon's great. At the same time, if I go for Stealth Rock, Empoleon is forced to defog. At the same time here, look how low his Hippowdon is. Stealth Rock really pressures... actually, Abomasnow's the play. Abomasnow straight up, going for another Blizzard. He hasn't got recovery on Empoleon, so this is creating a lot of pressure for my opponent here. Nothing like switching into Blizzard. He could go to Kyurem and pressure stall Blizzard out, but I don't know if at this stage, if growth is my appropriate play. I think I'm going to go for it. show off growth, get off the Giga Drain. Toxic isn't going to do a whole lot, and Giga Drain just puts his Empoleon really low, if not one hit KOing at this range. So that was the mentality there. He could go for a Scald and get some chip. I think going for a second growth is my play. If it turns out to be like some kind of Chesto Resto variant, good on my opponent. You kept your Empoleon. At the same time, the second growth doesn't means that Beedrill isn't going to come in for free. Let's hope he doesn't expect the Ice Shard and we catch him with it. He's not expecting the Ice Shard. This is fantastic, boys. Ice Shard takes out Beedrill. Here we have a classic example of Abomasnow just absolutely shredding my opponent's team. Abomasnow is really underrated in the underused tier, and it's just really scary to switch into, especially if it's a set such as this one. Okay, so at this stage, if my opponent's choice specs Kyurem, his best bet is Focus Blast. I can switch to Chandelure if that's the case, but I really believe he's just a sub-roost set. So that damage says to me that he is choice specs. Just to confirm that, let me show you guys the calc. Also, looking at my opponent's team, it is very ORAS-esque because the Beedrill core plus Kyurem was something that was noted as being quite good at taking out balance, and it's just one of those cores that used to be quite reliable back in the day. So I'm just going to show you guys the Ice Beam damage. He's probably going for a freeze chance here. So he's showing that he's modest choice specs Ice Beam because he's done 28.1 unless he got a high roll. So he got 29 again, consistently getting some high rolls here. So my thoughts are that he is modest choice specs. Going to go for one last soft boiled. He's going for freeze. The reason why I went for soft boiled was if I did get frozen there, I could switch out with natural cure, get my stealth rock. I have no problem with soft boiling here. He does get the freeze eventually. Uh, I don't want Scissor coming in and taking that damage. At the same time, that did a shit ton of damage, but Pain Split here is the logical play in my opinion. If he gets another freeze, good on him. I don't really need Chandelure. At this stage, my opponent once again is relying on RNG and hacks to beat me, which is a little disappointing, but at the same token, they don't really have a choice anymore. Going for U-turn, goes straight out to Abomasnow again. He's probably going to go for a Slack Off or a Stealth Rock. He doesn't have a switch into Blizzard now, so I'm just going to go for a Blizzard yet again. Blizzard comes out, Kyurem comes out. It's going to go down to a Blizzard plus Ice Shard. Hippowdon dies to a Blizzard, so I'm glad I got to show off Abomasnow to you guys after that disappointing first matchup where my opponent just relied on hacks to win. So Abomasnow is very slow on this team. It's actually slower than Amoonguss, which some people in the past have noted as a major flaw. But at the same time, getting used to this team and getting used to what this team is weak to has really made me perceptive to what I need to do versus particular threats with this team. So I hope that's an adequate explanation for you guys there. Scizor just goes for 2 bullet punches and I get the win. Good game, mate. That team was a blast from the past. Togekiss obviously wasn't in ORAS, if I can recall correctly, but the Beedrill plus Choice Specs Kyurem core was a fairly good core or prominent core back then. Great game, mate. Really enjoyed that one. Alright, last game of the day. Let's see how we go. Alrighty. So this one's taking a bit longer to find. You will find that, especially in my time zone, which is GMT plus 8. As you get higher up on the ladder, matches will take longer to find, which is a bit disappointing, but let's hope we don't verse that same guy with Ancient Power Togekiss. I'm really not in the mood, but let's see how we go. Okay. Magneton. Scissor's got the Occa Berry for that. I'm not worried about trapping. I can set up my Toxic Spikes quite early with Tentacruel. Tentacruel is also able to counter his Azumarill, so that's an opportunity for me to get the Toxic Spikes up. I just need to be careful of his Superior. And I'm going to lead with my Chandelure because he's probably leading with Steelix. There you go. Okay, so the logical play for my opponent is to switch or to stay in regular form in Earthquake. Knowing this, I'm going to have to risk my Will-O-Wisp with 85% accuracy. He doesn't switch and he Mega Evolves, so he makes a play that I don't agree with. At this stage, I can go to Blissey and just get my own rocks up now. His moves are going to do no damage. If he goes to Azumarill here, it's a free switch to Tentacruel. As I said, I get my Toxic Spikes up and nothing's lost. Goes to Azumarill. Let's go. I really think my opponent's going for the knockoff. At the same time, if he goes for Belly Drum, as Tentacruel was the play, uh, going for Rapid Spin, I survive the next liquidation. I can go for Zed Haze to recover the health. He goes to his own Steelix. Let's just calc the damage from Steelix onto Tentacruel. He's likely going for rocks again. Scold, Earthquake does a decent amount. Let's see what it is when burned. I live that hit. Maximum doesn't even do anything. Scold does a decent amount. He's not going to KO me again. It just gets risky playing around Choice Banded Azumarill. After this, there you go. He's going for indefinite rocks. That's fine by me because Burn's slowly wearing him down. I'm going to go for Toxic Spikes here. Pretty much forces him to go into Latias next because nothing on his team really likes the Toxic Spikes. He's probably going for... No, he just really wants to keep his Stealth Rock up. I'm fine with that, and he makes the play that loses Stealth Rock. I don't understand what my opponent was trying to do. Goes to Serperior, Toxic Spikes galore. I'm going to go to Hydreigon. If he goes for Glare, that's a fantastic play. He shows that he's Defog. That was also another fantastic play. I'm going to go straight for the U-turn as he goes to Azumarill. My play here is Abomasnow. If he has Choice Banded Superpower, that's really good on my opponent. At the same time, it's not a common set on Choice Band, but I'm getting complacent. I should scout this. He's likely just going for Play Rough, so I feel like Giga Drain's the play here. I can switch in my Blissey versus Magneton, and he has that mind game with Volt Switch anyway. If he is Superpower, great play by my opponent. Again, this team is about getting Abomasnow in. Look at his switch-ins to Abomasnow. He only has Magneton. I feel like Blizzard is a good idea here. He's probably, if he goes for Play Rough, I've got the opportunity to bring in Sizzle or Chandelure. So I'm going to go for Blizzard because I don't expect my opponent to give up such a huge threat to my team. At the same time, I really don't know what to expect from my opponent. Blizzard just does the best damage all around. I think it actually 2-hit KOs Magneton. Let's have a look. I think I have the Abomasnow set saved. Let's have a look. Custom set. Yeah. There you go. Magneton. Choice Specs. Blizzard. Yeah, Blizzard 2-hit KOs, so it's doing some massive damage. At the same time, Giga Drain also does massive damage. I feel like Giga Drain is a good play at the same time. Let's go for Giga Drain. Let's start the timer. I don't want to wait anymore. My opponent's really thinking about his next play here, and it really is scaring me because I don't want him to be Superpower, and that is why I feel like Blizzard is the play. Catch Serperior. Thank the Lord, I can set up my hazards now without defog being an issue. Now, this is the scary thing because my opponent could go for Volt Switch straight into... actually, Hydreigon's the play. He can go to Azumarill versus either Blissey or Hydreigon. Hydreigon gives me the U-turn into Scizor. If he goes for Liquidation, I have the switch into Abomasnow. So he also shows that I believe is Choice Scarf. Let's have a look. Hydreigon. Flash Cannon. Yeah, he's Choice Scarfed. Okay, that's fine. Go for my U-turn. He goes to his Azumarill. Guess what? Abomasnow's coming back in, mate. You're not getting away from this bad boy that easy. So I'm really just showing off how easily I can bring in Abomasnow with this team, especially with adequate hazard control. Abomasnow is an absolute monster. If he goes to Magneton again, he's taking Giga Drain, which does like 35% minimum, plus the hail damage. So my opponent should be feeling should be hurting right now. Um, I'm in a fantastic position. I don't know what else I can say right now. Um, he's likely just going to Magneton again. I'm going for Giga Drain. It's a no drawback play. I really think my opponent's going to go for Volt Switch this time, but I don't want to risk it at the same time. In this case, let's see how much Choice Scarf Flash Cannon does, and if he's Hidden Power Fire, how much that does. Let's go Abomasnow. I doubt he's going for Hidden Power Fire. I really think he's predicting the switch. It's the logical play. Flash Cannon and Hidden Power Fire both don't KO. At the same time, I don't have another switch into Azumarill. Um, but if his Azumarill locks himself into anything that's not Aqua Jet, I get free heals with Tentacruel. So I'm going to go for the Giga Drain. Goes for the Flash Cannon. Giga Drain heals back a fair amount. Let's check Ice Shard. Ice Shard actually takes out Magneton at that range. Thanks very much, mate. Abomasnow's a freaking monster. Blissey, Walls, Kirim. Latias comes in. He might go for the HP Fire. Scizor doesn't mind anymore. Magneton's gone. Um, goes for Psychic. I'm going to go for a U-turn first to scout the HP Fire. Uh, my opponent forfeits. There you go. I was in a really good position. I'm really sorry about the first loss, guys. At the same time, my opponent went for RNG. He went for multiple air slash flinches. He got a 1 in 5 with Ancient Power there. So most of the time on the ladder, it's not a very reliable strat to go for that. I like to rely on outplaying my opponent, gaining momentum very quickly, and just having an all-round good matchup. I hope you really enjoyed this live. I bought a team that I really love using. I really feel confident using this team, and it does very reliably versus a lot of the metagame and the ladder itself. So I'm going to post this team in the description below. I hope you guys find success with it. Let me know what you guys think of Abomasnow. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the chat below. I really appreciate you guys watching this one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.